here in Europe and, of course, in Africa. And to do a thorough analysis alongside with me, I have our in-house researcher, Nat Iyakwa. Nat, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Dr.
We also have
Johnson.
our usual man, the man in the city, he's called, is everywhere in this city of London. Otumba Bode Oseni, you are welcome to the program.
You are making me to feel like I should be running for the next year.
Yes, I'm telling you, I will vote for you. I will vote for you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Johnson, and thank you, viewers. I hope we are going to have a very nice day today.
I believe so. We have to start with something that is very dear to the heart of all the people in the world. Since the George Floyd's death and the aftermath of the people demonstrating and asking for fairness, equality, equity, and everything has gone in some places haywire. Some looting, some rioting, and people are complaining of the violence that should have gone along with the protest without such menace. But some people say these kind of looting and rioting, they are collateral damages. When an air pilot in a war bombs, always a collateral damage will be issued, and governments are quick to say they're collateral damages. So as we see genuine demonstrators and genuine protests, collateral damages do happen. Nobody wants a collateral damage. But somebody told me that the removing of racism in the hearts and minds of men will be like removing an oak tree planted for 400 years, and you want to remove it in a day. Scorpions will come out, snakes will come out, and so many things will come out. So we just have to stay with what we have until racism, either institutional or personal, is removed. But let me hear from my colleagues. Nat, racism, Black Lives Matter, the issue right now is people are denouncing the removal of statues. Tell me, Nat, what is the importance of a statue normally, without racism, without any prejudice? Why do governments raise up statues in any place at all? Nat. Nat, can you hear me? Nat, can you hear me?
Nat is muted. He needs to unmute. Can we move to another person?
Okay. Otumba, why do we have statues at all?
Well, usually statute is in the business of figure things erected in memory of people that have done something significantly or something very important to support. But then now we see that some of these people, even the highly revered former Prime Minister of the UK, Churchill, even though we also know that history have taught us what their participation or what they've done in the business of slavery cannot be eradicated so easily, but because they have a government and a kind of a people that always appreciate whatever they do. Like Riley said in your intro, it's going to be very, very difficult to erase or to we can start reducing it. Don't forget, we are talking about a case of about 400 or 500 years ago. So so statues have been people are now saying, you know what, even those one in the citadel of education, like in Oxford, Cambridge, and so on and so forth, these are racist statues of former slaves, or either they took part in it, or they did not do anything when they know anything, something about it. So now people are now saying it is either if you want to eradicate racism, you might as well start from the ground, from the foundation. You might as well remove things that will remind anybody that when I show when you show your children or grandchildren statue of St. Churchill, well, these are people who brought your great grandfather here. So I agree with people who say, look, let us remove them. We're not going to remove everything overnight. We're not going to solve the problem overnight. But anything that goes with it, anything that has relationship with racism, let us bury them. So when we bury them, then we can now take time to heal the wounds we have. It is a big thing. It's not going to be resolved overnight. It's going to take time. So, but while we are doing that, anything and everything that are associated with racism, we might as well kill them off, bury them away, and then don't let people say so. It's not going to remind anybody. And that's my take.
Okay, thank you very much. Nat, are you here with me now?
Yes.
Are you in agreement with Otumba Bodil saying that the statute in Bristol should have been removed or shouldn't be? What's your position?
Well, the thing is, it's more of are you hearing me?
I'm hearing you, but whoever has a thank you. Whoever has the television or radio should put it on,
Yeah.
please.
Somebody has television on.
The protest comes a week after a billboard.
Can the studio mute that person? Thank you. Yes, Nat.
The audio is coming from Nat.
The audio is coming from Nat.
Yeah.
Okay, we move on then. Let me see if someone else, I think Sonny has joined. Sonny, where are you? You're having a heart there.
Good morning, everyone. How you doing?
Good morning. We were just talking about Black Lives Matter, and will you be in support of removing statues that are racist in essence?
Funny enough, the Black Leadership Forum UK, which I'm the leader of, we wrote to the Prime Minister regarding issues relating to that. And of course, it's a very complex issue in relation to whether you want the statues to be removed or not, because some of them, in fact, most of them actually have some ugly past. However, I think it's such a very sensitive issue that we need to think very carefully, review. Some of them, obviously, they have to be removed. And some of them, you may have to perhaps tone them down a little bit, bring them into some historical context. That is, let people know, even though they were sinners in the past, but later on, they did something good to pay for their misdeeds of the past. So, I mean, maybe I'm actually trying to introduce some religious context into this because I believe in
Never mind, we're all religious.
because I believe in forgiveness, reconciliation and repentance. So therefore, I mean, even if you look at the Bible, for instance, the person who actually wrote Amazing Grace, was it not a previous slave owner or something? Correct me if I'm wrong. And now, Amazing Grace, one of the most beautiful hymns in the of Christian hymns. So therefore, therefore, what I'm trying to say is, if as upsetting as it is, I think we need to sit back a bit, calm, look at all these historical monuments, and then see what they actually represent in the 21st century Britain, even around the world, and then see what we can do with them. Some of them, people can visit them in the museums to learn from the past mistakes. And some of them, maybe they just need to throw them in the river like they did in Bristol. I don't know.
Before I go out of this, Lady Yap, you are watching. How are you? You are in the yeah. How you doing? I can see you are the only lady with us here, so I want to see whether we can hear from you.
You need to unmute yourself, sister.
Have you unmuted, sister? We want to hear your views about Black Lives Matter.
Oh, thank you and good morning,
Good morning. Yeah.
gentlemen. I do believe we have a lady there, but I think she disappeared for the moment. But yes, thank you for the warm welcome. Can you hear me okay?
What do you think about Black Lives Matter?
Well, good Lord, that's a controversial. There's our other lady. She just popped back. But in relation to your question, it's a very controversial issue, clearly. I think for what it's worth, these are deep-rooted issues that have been bubbling under the surface for years, as we all know. So I'm not surprised that it's come out in the way it's come out and the way the overspill of emotions has transpired into society. It's interesting how these, to me, because quite frankly, in relation to the monuments, I think, you know, these are monuments that we've been walking past daily, respectively. I remember hearing a young lady saying, well, I always see these monuments on the way to university, but it wasn't an issue before. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so now the symbolism of our pain seems to have gone into or been you know, sort of you cannot.
Yeah, we're having some problems with that.
Classify what we went through as a people into one monument. Get affected by that. Oh, is that better?
Yeah. Keep talking. Let's see if it will be better. Yeah.
Okay, as I was saying, you know, it's in the same way that some of our people are affected by the N-word. I won't repeat it, but I'm sure you all know the N-word. You know, it's down to what your perception of the N-word is. Personally, I believe all those statues have a place in society. I do believe what Councillor Sonny Lamb mentioned earlier was a very good idea, to place them in a museum. I don't believe there should be you know, populated all over the city in the general domain, public domain. I think that time is over. I think it's a time where now they need to be put in a place that people can go and pay and visit if they want to know about that, because they're also a reminder to those people, some of us who are still steered up, but we're obviously triggered now, but now steered up by these statues. But fundamentally, it's I don't think that defines slavery. I don't think it even defines our, you know, the people who committed the crimes, who you know, you've got to remember, Britain also have a history, and any country is going to want to commemorate their heroes, and irrespective, there's two sides to the story. However, I do believe taking them down would be a very wise thing to do at this time, but not necessarily delete them from the books of history, because it did happen. It's like trying to say slavery didn't happen. It's all a part of the story.
Yeah, I thank you very much for that narrative. Otuba, you think it will take us some time before we can flow without racism, institutional racism, personal racism? Do you think it will take some time? It took us so many years, according to Al Sharpton, 401 years that knee has been on the neck. Will it take another 400 years? Or the new generation is saying, look, these are our mates. We went to school together. They're as bright, if not brighter than us. What are you talking? They're inferior. How long do you think it will take?
It's going to be very difficult to say. Just like I said, we are talking about many years to come, because these are problem of hundreds of years back. and it has been ingrained. It's like it's already inherent in the heart of some people. Especially, and it's also going to be very difficult to say how many people are willing to change. But as time goes on, some of these people who are hard racists, they will die off at a time. But then the problem is, what have they bequeathed to their children? You know, do not forget that these things are just individual thing, but individual thing in many millions of places. Because you see that children of up to 17 years of age, they grow up together, black, white, red, and yellow, and everything. They don't have this problem until when you see that even a 2 or 3 year old girl started taking lecture from her parents or his parents, that don't do business with that guy, he's black, all that kind of thing. So it's going to be we need to do more and more, putting more and more awareness. Governments need to put a program, and also government we also have to invest in bringing people together. That when example like in different places of work, that might have to be Monday to Friday at work. They will have to recite in the morning certain things. That you see, it's just not going to be easy. It's going to be very, very difficult because many people are already made up their mind that they will never want to have anything to do with it for some silly reasons. Because there's no reason after this act of perpetuation has been committed 200-300 years ago, and we have been living together. So they now believe that they want to continue. So to disengage them, the government will need to do more in terms of awareness and so on and so forth programs.
Thanks so much. Nat, are you with me now? Nat, are you with me? Because I'm about to change this topic now. I think we've got enough discussion on that. It will always reoccur. I wanted to ask if Nat will agree into what has been said.
Well, my honest contribution that this is a systemic issue in the society, and it has its origins in the slave trade, and it's not going to go away very soon. The government or the system or the institutions have to put in more efforts to fight institutional racism. I think the other people have made their contribution and I agree with them.
Okay, you agree that we should pull down statutes as well, statutes that are racist in nature?
Yeah, because I think Honorable Lambert mentioned something about Bristol. You know, Bristol is the harbor where the ships would bring the slaves from Africa.
Yeah.
And if you go to Bristol, there's a street called Black Boy Street.
Okay.
So it tells volumes of what the system thinks up today about the blacks. Because
talking about black boys, in Nigeria, like in every other colonial country of the British, they always have boys' quarters. Many people don't know the historical background of boys' quarters. In other places, anyway, let's be specific. In Britain, if you have a butler, the butler is likely to be living in your house. But when they went to colonize, they couldn't live with black men, and they now put up a quarters behind their own house, or even separately, and they call it boys' quarters. Now, the boys, those who are called boys, they were 45 years in age, they were 50 years in age, and they will now call them boys, and they call them so there is an African adage that, do you want to go and do boy for the white people? Boy, that's where we get boy, and it's interesting that the word boy has become something derogatory put within the colonial context. But I'm sure this discussion will continue. Black lives matter. And I'm just thinking I'll quickly ask this question. 50% of the children we have in London today, they are with mixed races. They are mixed races. You think this new generation will not remove racism as quickly as possible? The 50% of the children we are having in London are mixed races. Let me hear, Sonny. What do you think?
Thank you. In fact, I was actually raising my hand in relation to the previous one, that we still have a building called the Africa Center, not the one Africa Center we all know, but very close to it at Auburn, where Black people used to be auctioned just by
Okay.
Auburn. So just to mention that, so therefore, yes, why we need to review all these historical monuments and see what we need to do with them. Now, coming back to your next question, which is in relation to mixed
Great.
parentage,
Mm,
children from mixed parents. Obviously, yes, with 50% and still rising, we become a force to be reckoned with in future with their own unique voice. But at the same time, we also have to be extremely careful because very soon some people will be using us against each other, making those who are dark skinned like yourself and myself become inferior. It's about divide and rule. And it's been
mm,
happening for generations. I mean, women will be turned against men, young against the old, Black against white is institutionalized. So therefore, we need to look at that and be careful whether we call one mix or not. You can also see the inferiority complex I also plays upon now, the body of inferiority complex, whereby some people, men and women,
mm.
we want to tone down their skin so that they can look lighter a bit. Even when you look on the telly these days, God, before you realize your sister you saw yesterday that was darker than myself, you can easily mistake that sister or brother, for a white person. So
Yeah.
therefore, we need to be careful with that. Of course, it's a good thing that we have children from mixed, parents, parentage.
Mm,
Obviously, we have to also move beyond the color angle because mix could be mean in terms of color, could also
mm,
mix in terms of geographical origin of each of them, even though they may be white, they may be black. For instance, you have people of African, Caribbean region. There are so many mixed marriages going on. You also have
yeah.
African, Asian. So you also have African, Australian, New Zealander, and so on. So mixed race could mean anything to anybody. So we
Yeah.
also have to look at how they break that down to identify who we call mixed race or from mixed parentage, and also what does that mean for future policy initiatives and so on.
Oh, thank you very much. I was just about to say that I have an elderly friend. He's
Hmm.
70 something now. He was married to and still married to a white woman, and they have their children, of course, of mixed race. And the children, two boys, got married to white women. And this, my friend's grandchildren, are purely white in the physical. They're Caucasians by any standard. And I used to laugh at him and say, "Man, how did a black man give back to Caucasians?" And there is a joke between us. So, and of course, those grandchildren will defend black to the end of their lives. So life has gone away from 400 years ago, 200 years ago, 100 years ago. I have good news for everybody. I believe racism will be stamped out in the next few years because this generation, they are not receiving it, both white and black. That is the reason. That is the issue. But let's leave that as we may. We will come back to it next week. But let us say something about dear old Nigeria. So many things have happened in the last 7 days. Some of them good, some of them not very good. And I want to start with the not very good. We had in this last week, we've been told of people who have died. And we've been told of Professor Akikube, a professor emeritus, well known. We've been told of the first woman federal permanent secretary, Mrs. Emmanuel Macaulay. We've been told of Senator Oshino representing Lagos Senatorial East District. And the most painful and perhaps the youngest of them all, Mrs. Ibidunni Itua Igodalo Ni Ajayi, a woman of substance. Everybody calls her PIB, Pastor Ibidun. And I was privileged to meet her a few occasions. But let's just have a clip of this from Red Carpet TV. If studio can show us just a clip of this wonderful young woman who has passed on. Well, sorry if you didn't get the sound at the beginning. Before the end of the show, we'll play it one more time. That was Ibiduni Itua Igodalo. So many tributes have been paid to her. It's been across the globe. The CNN carried it. We understand that President Buhari has sent his own condolences. Femi Gbajabiamila, the Speaker of the House, has sent his own condolences. Governor Sanwo-Olu physically went there. Dangote physically went to their house. I will just leave a few minutes. If you know any one of them and you want to pay tribute, I'll give you a few minutes to do so. Nat, do you know any of these and you want to pay tribute?
Well, I know Ibidu's husband personally, the pastor. Okay. He joined us sometime on the Ben Television You Decide program.
That's correct.
Yes, and they're a wonderful couple, very young and resourceful. I'm sure for us who believe in God Almighty, this is the time God wants her home. It seems God has said, you have come, you have seen, you have conquered. Please come home. Our prayers are with the family. May her gentle soul continue to rest in perfect peace.
Thank you very much. Otumba, do you know any of them or you want to pay tribute?
Yeah, I can remember also, I was also in the studio when Pastor Itua was with us. on You Decide a couple of years ago now. Let me start by saying my condolences and thoughts with the family. It is a tough thing. It's a very difficult time for anybody to lose a beloved person in the house, especially when it's a direct one. A direct one would be your other half, your wife or your husband. Can be very, very traumatic. It can be very, very difficult to manage. So again, I just hope the Almighty Allah gives the pastor and his family the fortitude to bear the loss. So having said all this, also I can also use this opportunity to send condolences to other people who also at the same time lost their family. I mean, for example, in the business of COVID-19. So that's what we can offer for now. It's very sad, very tough. It's a very difficult time for the families, people who have to deal with these,
Thank you very much, Otumba. Godson, how are you? Godson Azu.
Yeah, good morning, Doc, and morning, everyone there.
We know you travel from Peterborough to your studio. It's okay. Do you know any of these guys I've mentioned, especially Bidoni?
Well, just like my colleagues have said, I think probably I was there when he came the last time to TV on our show.
You have to speak up loud, please.
I said just to join my colleagues to commend the pastor because I think I remember he was on the show some time ago. Sincere condolences to him, and our prayers and thoughts goes to the whole family. Basically, also, I want to send sincere condolences to the Prof, to Senator Oshinowo, to Mrs. Macaulay, and the others who their names are not very popular that they didn't mention because a couple of people have died. Sincerely, over the last week, there is one doctor, Chuku something, that was burnt alive in Zamfara State, right in his compound, and many others who have died in Benue, Plateau, in the last week or so. Our condolences to every one of them. They're all part of the human race, and it's very important that we understand that we all are one single race in this planet, and at every point in time, one of us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Godson. It's a very sad situation in the Igodalo family right now, and God will give them the fortitude to bear that loss. Before the end of the program, I will be telling you when the service of song will be taking place in London. Actually, the time will be tomorrow. The service of song will be taking place in London tomorrow. The detail will be furnished through Ben Television, and you can watch it when it's being done tomorrow evening. In Nigeria, it will be on Friday and Saturday. Necessary information will pass through Ben Television. So watch out for this space. Um, let's move on to other things. One serious situation in Nigeria right now is the low level of security. Insecurity has taken place to an extent that no one is sure of himself. And at the risk of repeating ourselves, there was a serious protest in Katsina. People were protesting against insecurity. For those who don't know, Katsina was a place where the government decided to have an agreement with bandits that we will pay you a particular sum of money and then you will not attack us again. And it lasted for 6 months, and the bandits came asking for more money. But let's take, before we go into the historical analysis, Let us first of all take a look at this protest. Thank you, studio.
For the second successive week, protesters take to the streets in Katsina, northwest Nigeria, to voice their concerns over insecurity in the state. Barricades mounted by the police was not enough to stop the protest organized by a coalition of northern groups. Their message to the government: stop the bloodshed.
Let's call a spade a spade. Let us tell ourselves the truth and let us face the reality. We have never witnessed a situation whereby security challenges is at peak level. We have never witnessed a situation whereby people are no longer sleeping with their two eyes closed, but rather they are sleeping with one eye closed and one eye open.
But the police say the security situation is not as bad as being portrayed by the protesters.
For somebody to come and say the security situation is the worst so far, is either being mischievous or he deliberately wants to be funny. We are aware that we have challenges. These challenges are built up challenges for over 30 years. And Nigeria has been what they are, rightly or wrongly. They want problems that have been accumulated for over 30 years to be solved within a period of few days or months.
Barely a week ago, over 200 bandits attacked 8 communities in Faskari local government area of the state, killing over 20 people. A visit to Faskari Model Primary School, now converted to temporary IDP camp, tells a story of the aftermath of the attack, with 3,156 displaced persons, mostly women and children, now calling this place home.
Though the care we receive here is in fact better than that in our matrimonial homes, but our prayers is that government should look at our critical condition by eliminating the bandits.
While the police say they have arrested some suspects connected with a series of attacks in Katsina and neighboring Zamfara states, one of the leaders of the bandit groups is said to be at large. A bounty of 5 million naira has been announced for anyone with credible information on his whereabouts.
Thank you very much, studio. Credit to Channels Television there. We are always interested in delving into the depth of a matter, and from there we could make an analysis, not for fun, but for the government and the people to take a quality decision. Nat, what can you tell us about what has happened in Zamfara? Sorry, it's Katsina and Kaduna.
Okay, let's start with Katsina, the video we have just watched.
Nat, we can't see your face properly.
Are you okay now?
Go on.
Okay. Okay. The video we have just watched is from Katsina. It's either Katsina town or Daura in Katsina State, north central Nigeria. For some years now, there have been this security challenge of banditry in the northwest, especially in Zamfara, Sokoto, Katsina, and Kaduna State. These are all states in the northwest geopolitical zone of Nigeria. We are aware of the Boko Haram challenges that have been on for the past 10 years or more. And in all these challenges, what we keep hearing from the government is that they're addressing the issue, they're bringing the perpetrators to book, they are sending security men to sort out the security challenges, but it seems things are getting worse. Things are not getting better. In this particular area, Katsina and the Daura area, almost 70 people were killed last week, 70 people. And not to talk of other areas like in Kaduna State, southern Kaduna, the Kajuru area. We have had series of banditry, series of arms attacks against innocent civilians. And again, the government will keep saying, we are attacking or trying to sort out the issues, but the issues have refused to go away. The government really has not been seen to be sorting out these security challenges.
Nat,
there are other challenges.
One second now.
Yeah.
What we want to know, is it the inability of the police to maintain law and order, or the lack of willingness on the part of the government? Because ability is one and willingness is the other. Is it that the government simply does not take it seriously? We listen to that police officer. How can someone come and say, we don't want to solve the problem, a 30 years problem, we want it solved in 3 days? Is it the inability of the police or the lack of willingness on the part of government?
To start with, that police officer that was talking the video, I don't know whether he's authorized to make such a statement. You see the commissioner of police in Katsina State, you see the DPO, you see area commander. And again, from what we heard from him, he's just trying to defend the government. Even Garba Shehu and Femi Adesina, this is what they have been talking about, trying to say the government is doing its best to sort out this issue, but their best is not enough for Nigerians.
Okay. Let me ask some of our colleagues here. But Otumba, from what we have seen, even with the police officer trying to defend the government, with killings and maimings and burnings and having agreement with bandits, I've never had any government having an agreement with bandits, with breakaway factions of the community. I can understand. But with bandits, people who have just come to loot, they're not asking for anything but to loot. And yet you have an agreement with them. As if that was not enough, they came back to say that we are out of agreement, we will steal more, except to give us more government money. Tell us, what do you think is going on?
Thank you, Doc. Again, it all boils down to how much premium puts on life of an average Nigerian or Nigerian. I'm shocked to hear from the police officer talking about the problem of 30 years ago. Isn't that an admission of
failure?
Failure, not even systemic anymore. It's not like nobody can understand that. The idea of 30 years ago is to bring loads and loads of experiences to today. So there should have been so many things that should have been done to put. You just need to start looking at the policing in Nigeria. I'll be surprised, apart from maybe in the FTC, and one police station. And I'm sorry if somebody wants to challenge me, in the whole country, I don't even want to say in the place, you will hardly find a police station in Nigeria that is well managed, is well equipped, is well protected by itself. They also have to protect the vigilante. They also have to go through this problem an average person is going through. So we don't have police, we don't have all this structure. And without this structure, we cannot start talking of protecting anybody.
Otuba, yeah. What is the government thinking? Are they thinking, I mean, one person is killed, George Floyd is killed, the whole world responded, but thousands are killed in Nigeria, Nigerians are not responding. What is government there for if they can't take care of the security? They're not even, they appear not to be doing anything.
Yeah, Doc, you just put two things together again. Like I said, it depends. It's all about how much premium do we put in an average Nigerian's life. You just said it. Even if government is not doing anything, you allude to what happened in America. Why are we not protesting? In Benue State, a couple of years ago, hundreds of people were being killed every day. Nigerians are not standing up. Yes, a couple of people were trying to make a difference. But the thing is, even if government is not effective, what is wrong with the people? And I can tell you what's wrong with the people. The people, they have been so bastardized. They have no life. An average Nigerian has no life. A Canadian friend an Australian friend was asking me one time, say, oh, when I say it's almost about 4% of Nigerians are enjoying goodies and all that kind of thing, he said, what's wrong with the remaining 96%?
All right. Let me ask our other colleagues here, and I'm going to ask Godson, make it quickly, and then I will ask Sonny. And someone is saying that the question, Godson, if the government is absent, like many people have said that Nigerian governments are absent, I mean, there's no way people will be watching us, and we don't protest when hundreds of people are killed and the government is keeping mute. Nelson Mandela, may he so rest in peace, he said, I don't understand Nigerians. The Nigerians do not complain about their governments. They just believe tomorrow will be good, tomorrow will be better. They're not complaining, they're complacent. Maybe they're afraid. Why is it that thousands of the people are being killed? The Southerners are not responding, the Northerners are not responding for whatever reason. Godson, maybe you have the answer.
Thank you very much, Doc. I think I can't remember who said this how do I call it? What? I'm not sure if it's Francis Fukuyama or Maguntao. He said that men were born free, but everywhere they are found in chains. I can't remember who did that. I think humans are in freedom, but in most recent times, everywhere around the world, there seems to be in chains of their own natural spiritual bondages. The issue in Nigeria, as we all know, there is a very huge level of disconnect between the federal and the state government apparatus. And at the same time, we have a government that is downside. We have a government that is going through dementia leadership, and as such, the connection between reality and the responsibility is very, very challenging. And that is the case because if you look at the police high commissioner in Katsina State saying that the story that people are saying, they are forming things up, they are not saying the truth. And obviously, we are seeing people being killed, managed, butchered every day in a state that many of us knew very well that a couple of years ago, it's hardly for you to hear any such thing happening in Katsina State. Some 10, 15 years ago, we never had stories like this in Katsina State. So I don't know where he gets his own information from, trying to equate what has been happening probably in other places. Many of us know that similar issues have been occurring in Kaduna for many, many years, and part of Kano in many, many years, and then Borno. But the only thing here is that, unfortunately, government should classify the bandit situation from being bandits to terrorists, because these are not just bandits anymore, but they are complete terrorists that are terrorizing people and are taking stand when somebody is beginning to negotiate with you on life and death in terms of money. That is terrorized. That is act of terrorism. That is act of kidnapping. You're kidnapping a territorial area, and then you are negotiating the peace and life of such people in those areas with the government of the day. It's an act of terrorism. Buhari is failing to stand on the right thing this time. He should wake up to the reality, declare Katsina State a state of emergency, declare the so-called bandits beyond banditry to terrorists, and begin to deal with people in those areas as if he's dealing with people in Sambisa Forest, as if he's dealing with people in Borno State. Because these guys are not bandits by any chance. These are terrorists who have made up their mind. These are fractions of Boko Haram. These are fractions of Boko Haram who have found their own level of activities, and then because government does not want to see themselves dealing with different fractions of terrorists or Boko Haram, they call people bandits. They call this one herdsmen. To be honest to you, herdsmen, bandits, Boko Haram, every one of them are same. They are all terrorists, and they should be classified as terrorists because
all right. Thank you very much.
The government cannot wake up one day and classify IPOP as a terrorist organization, OPC as a terrorist organization. These organizations have not even killed a rat or even a goat in their community. But yet, you have people carrying arms, ammunition, people carrying armored cars, not even ordinary truck, armored cars, into people's area, occupying local government, declaring places their own, putting flags in places as their own country, and then you are calling them bandits, you are calling them headsmen. These guys are crossing internal borders.
All right, Godson. I know it's a very hot topic. I know it's a very hot topic, Godson. I want to ask Sonny. All right, Godson. I know. Sonny, what is wrong with our people? If the government is absent, they elected them, they should hold them accountable. But it appears that the Nigerians are not aware of their democratic rights of holding their leaders accountable. So the leaders, number one, recycle themselves. Number two, malfunction. Number three, they are absent. What is wrong? If the government, if we all agree that the government is not there, or the governments are not there, and I'm talking of federal, state, and local government, then what should the people do? What should the people know to do, and they're not doing?
Thank you. I think before I actually comment on that, I don't know if you saw my comment or my question, which I sent in the group. I think one of the problems we have is that we always believe that, one, the answers to our questions, to the issues have to come from our elders or from men alone or for older people alone. And since we've been on this conversation for about 45 minutes, I joined you. I've only heard one woman spoke, and some of us have spoken 2 or 3 times. As you know, in our culture. No. Let me finish.
Let me correct something. This is You Decide program. No, wait. Let me just correct it. This is You Decide program. We have panelists that have been asked to prepare certain topics. Yeah. So if we have not asked you to prepare a particular topic, we are not likely to call you. But if you raise up your hand, we may call you. So I just don't want you to.
Okay, my brother. Then maybe we then need to make sure the panelists is also fair in future, to make sure we have contribution from our diverse communities. Why did I say that? Because what happened, as you know, in Yoruba, there's a saying that "Ọmọdé gbọ́n, àgbà gbọ́n, la ṣe dálé Ifẹ̀." That is the language for those who don't understand the Yoruba. It means, a young person, a child, and an adult, they all have brains, they all have something to contribute. And that's how Ile-Ife, who is the cradle of Yoruba land, was created. So which means if there are problems, every one of us, men, women, young, old, have something to contribute to the solution. So coming back to the issue of Boko Haram now, if you go back to 30, 35 years ago, we have Mitisini and all these. So, it's not the first time we had Islamic, terrorism, if you want to use that word, in Nigeria. And even this same president was around that time when those issues came about, and, successful government, military, they were able to deal with them. And also linking that to what Azu said, I think if we are not careful, you see, a little cut can easily become a big problem that even a big bandage will not be able to cover. Now, let's identify those who are truly bandits, terrorists, from those who are actually fighting for agitation. Now, if these people are not terrorists, but actually using violence to fight for agitation by colonizing different parts of northern Nigeria, let them come out as a political voice and compete with IPOD and also Odua and all the rest of it. Now, coming back, let's assume now they are terrorists. Now, you find a military that are not motivated. Nigeria, if I remember, Nigerian army was one of the strongest, one of the third, army in the whole of Africa in the past. But they are not well equipped. I mean, I don't know. Of course, recently we said the government is now trying to equip them because motivation is very important. If they don't have the necessary equipment to fight, the bandits are more prepared. You see, as you said, they have armored car, they have everything. If I were one of those soldiers, I'd probably run for my life because I have family too. And they also not well paid as well. But it's true. If you look at the peanuts they give them, and no palliatives for their family, easy, if you use the Nigerian language, no incentives. So therefore, poor salary, uniform, no equipment to find. they want to fight. So therefore, we need to look at all these things and put everything into
But then the
perspective.
other part of the question, what
Mhm.
are the ordinary Nigerians doing about it? Why are they not holding their government to account?
Well, of course, Nigerians, okay, when somebody come with a cutlass and with a gun, and you're ordinary Nigerian, what power have you got to do?
No,
Look
no,
at,
no, no, no. I mean, as a mass protest.
I mean, there are some people who are actually protesting, as far as I know. I mean, you look at the what they call it, the clip you showed us earlier shows some people demonstrating. You also see you also see the police what they call it, the police commandant saying that these people, they're with the government, defending the government. You see, this is where the mismatch is. We have to be honest with each other, rather than the man, probably coming out and say we are doing our best. However, we know our best is not enough, and we need your support because you need to rely on the intelligence as well, because it's not about having big planes with bombs. You need to know where to drop that bomb. And to drop that bomb, you need to have intelligence to tell you the location. You can't just bomb anywhere. So therefore, you need people on the ground. You need local people. And when you then have majority of people from that community who are uneducated, they are easily, it can be easily lured into all kinds of, you know, um, what do you call it, rebellious, and also, these people you call Boko Haram and so on. You can easily become part of them because they are not educated. Therefore, if somebody gives them some money, they will quickly join them, and that's what we see that has been
Okay,
happening, in my
okay,
opinion.
okay. Let me ask Nat, is this a failure of government? Do we come to a point where we say the government has failed, that is not fit for purpose? At the federal level, at the state level, at the local government, should we just know, like one can safely say that the government of Libya has failed? I mean, if you go into Libya right now, you don't know which warlord is in control of Libya. You hardly know. Even the United Nations does not know as we speak. Have we come to that situation in Nigeria where there are warlords taking charge of a good part of Zamfara, a good part of Katsina, and a good part of Borno, and with the president coming out to tell us that no part of Nigeria is under another, is under terrorism. I mean, which is a blatant lie. There are different local governments in Borno State that are under Boko Haram. Everyone knows, and the government cannot come out to say that. There are areas of Katsina and Zamfara under bandits, and the government cannot lie to us. Have we just come to a position where we say there is no government?
Well, we have a, a, a country called the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We have a constitution, and the constitution states that the federal government or state government will provide security and protection for life and property. But as we kept saying, for the immediate past 10 years, the government has not been able to adequately provide protection by way of security for life and property in Nigeria. The government also have refused, like an ostrich, they have refused to agree that they have failed woefully in that area of securing the life and property of Nigerians. And we've had instances where states or regional areas are now trying to assist the government in providing security to protect life and property. The Amotekun thing is very well known to everybody in Nigeria, maybe West Africa and even the Africa. Other areas like the Southeast geopolitical zone, they now have something called Lion Walk to protect their people. The same thing with the South, the North Central, the Northwest, and the Northeast are now trying to provide security on their own, which is a failing on the part of the federal government. Whether they want to accept it or not, the government have failed its people in the area of providing security for them.
Otuba, will you want to agree with that the governments at the various levels, they have failed? Please, if anybody wants to participate before I change the topic, all you need to do is just put up your hand and it will show on my computer here that press the button on your Zoom and it will show you want to say something before I change the topic. But all these panelists, they've been told what we will discuss. So that's why I'm giving them preference. Otumba, will you agree with that?
Yes, to a great extent, yes. And like I always say, if you don't have a structure, you don't have foundation for good, it's all result of bad governance in any form or shape, in all ramifications. That we never have good governance in Nigeria, and it's very, very sad. 60 years on, we have displayed our inability that we are not capable of governing ourselves. What is governance? Governance is very simple. Might be difficult in some area, but the simple definition of governance is to make sure that governments provide for property, lives, and other infrastructure. When I look at the Castina, when I look at the houses that were attacked, are those houses for you and I? These are hot. These are not even good to for dogs, goats, and everything to live in. So these are these are places created for people to just come in and take advantage of them. So governance in Nigeria is the biggest problem I think Nigerians have, and many other African countries. You cannot govern a country without providing basic infrastructure. And one of the infrastructure should be security. Look how porous all our borders are. So what are we talking about? So is it not easy for anybody, bandits especially, to go and invade some of these very primitive areas in the north, and also some of them are in south and southeast? And why? It's because government so far, they have not done anything. Government in Nigeria is a business of getting in there, steal as much as you want. And we have been talking about the people themselves, because they have a kind of a calibrated mind that is going to get to their turn. So they are not ready to report anybody. How many people?
Turn by turn.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
okay,
when you look at.
But I just have to change this topic. But before I change the topic, Godson, is that it? We are running a primitive governance in Nigeria at the primitive level. Is that it?
Well, I do tend to agree with Otuba on the ground that here we are running a kind of a primitive, colloquial, aged, dementia-led governance at this present time in Nigeria, because solving this security issue does not take more than enough people we have within the military and the police to solve the major issues we are having in Nigeria. And it doesn't take too much of constitutional discourse in order for our legislators to agree on the way forward, trying to create a very strong regional or strong state policing in our states. But then the issue now goes beyond that now, because now we have to agree to a point where people who have the means and the earnings to own their own live ammunition, guns, to protect themselves, will begin to buy and seek for guns, because there are so many guns and ammunition lying fallow all over the place in Nigeria, and we don't know how many individuals, we don't know how many people own guns in Nigeria these days that are not licensed, because even the police themselves eat from licensing people's guns. Rather than licensing people's guns authentically, they collect money and let you go with your gun. So there is a lot of insecurity, polarized insecurity system in Nigeria. The government, we expected that somebody who says is a retired general in the army is heading the country with so many retired generals in his cabinet, in his sitting cabinet, and yet they could not curtail the insecurity situation in the country for 5 years, going to 6 years now. And it's most likely that they will not be able to curtail the insecurity situation because they lack a policy approach. Even when they have a better policy to follow, they fail to implement the right principles of that policy in terms of ensuring the priority, the primary role of governance, the safety and protection of life and property, not only in one particular area, but everywhere in the country.
Okay. Let me see. I understand that someone is raising up her hand, and
Yeah.
I want. Yes, go on, ma'am.
Thank you. Distinguished personalities on the platform, I salute you all. I just want to add a voice to all that they have been saying regarding security in Nigeria. One of the things that bothers me the most is the number of the military cadet that is decreasing at a very, very alarming rate, because they are not even allowed to carry telephones to the battlefront with the Boko Haram. And so most of the things are not even reported. They are dying in their thousands. And so I don't know, maybe in a few years from today, if we continue on this path, we might not even have the lower cadet of the military officers, you know, because they are dying and they are not being given, just as all the speakers have said, they are not being provided with the right equipment to be able to fight the Boko Haram. And then to also add to the earlier discussion, which I have been raising my hands, but I've not been called. Sorry, I have to say it now. I feel like the Black Life Matter, please, if I will be allowed to say something about that. Is it okay?
In 10 seconds, madam.
Okay. What I feel is that history has not done the Black man right, in the sense that if we go to schools, from the basis of history, they will start teaching you that, oh, the Black man evolved from a monkey, you know? So that inscription or whatever it is, the information given stays in the minds of the white man, which I believe that also this black and white should also be scrapped. We are human beings, you know, we shouldn't be called black, white, brown, or whatever color. We should be regarded as humans, you know, rather than being called black, white, yellow, or whatever it is they call the color, you know. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, madam. I know Sonny has been raising up his hands, and just in 10 seconds, I need to change this topic. Sonny, in 10 seconds. I can't hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. So I think in terms of race neutrality, the sister talk about, and some people also aspire to gender neutrality. I think it's a very dangerous zone. We should be going to. We have to be careful on that. You know.
Oh,
Now
God.
coming.
Oh, God. Gender neutrality, Sonny.
No, some people.
I'm a man. I'm not a woman.
Well, I don't know. I don't know which planet they live
know?
in. Actually, there are people who are also agitating for that as well, gender neutrality. Yes. So we have to be careful with how far we want to. What we do with our difference that actually matter, whether we are men, women, young, old, is what we do, black, white, is what we do with our difference that we should looking at. Do we do it to add value to human race, or do we do it to destroy? Then we need to look at that. So coming back to the issue of, I think probably one of the problem I will mention that I think we need to look at very carefully is probably issue of, democratic structure in Nigeria. Because when you go back to when we practice real federalism in Nigeria, even though that's why I use the example of Matisini and all the rest. We've had them before, Islamic fundamentalists and other issues, but we were able to deal with them because, because everything now seems to be centralized. So therefore, all the resources are put in the center. So, we don't have the resources at strategic locations where they are needed in order whether to fight Boko Haram or to do other things. So if we are still going to remain one, let's be realistic about that, then we need to look at that. Power has been
restructuring.
Yeah, so restructuring will be definitely be central to that.
Yeah,
so that's why I said, sorry.
I must move on, and I thank you for all the contributions, but we must move on. The economy of Nigeria is in a very bad shape. I mean, and I'm talking from an analytical point of view, with petrodollars gone down, picking up and down, and it used to be 465 naira to 1 pound. As we speak, is 535 naira to 1 pound. And that means that inflation is coming up very soon, because most of the raw materials from abroad will now lead to increase in prices. And listen to this letter from Atiku, which was written a day or two ago. This was from Atiku, former vice president, presidential candidate of PDP in the last election. But listen to what it has to say. Nothing has shocked me in my entire life in public service as the revelation from Nigeria's first quarter 2020 financial reports in the medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy from the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, which shows alarmingly that whereas Nigeria spent a total sum of 943.12 billion naira in debt servicing, the federal government's retained revenue for the same period was only 950.56 billion naira. Nigeria made 950 billion, but used 943 billion to service the debt. This means that Nigeria's debt to revenue ratio is now 99%. No one should be deceived. This is a crisis. Debt servicing does not equate to debt repayment. The quality is that Nigeria is paying only the minimum payment to cover our interest charges. The principal remains untouched and is possibly growing. That was part of Atiku's speech these last few days. Given that one, I have asked Nat to do us a thorough analysis of the present Nigerian economic situation, that none of us will pretend in the days to come that, oh, it came all of a sudden. Nat, what have you got?
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Now, when you talk of the economy of a country, we are talking of the production within that country, consumption, and then trade in goods and services. So that's the simple definition of an economy you can give anybody. So if you look at our production level, we really have not been a nation of producing anything, because most of our goods and services are imported. Even until of recently, we were importing toothpick. And no nation will develop in such a way. And most of when our economy has been tied to oil and gas, especially crude oil. Crude oil was discovered in 1958 in Oloibiri, somewhere in the Niger Delta. And between 1958 to 60 to 70s, crude oil was contributing less than 10% of our annual budget. But as we speak, 2020, crude oil is contributing 95% of our revenue.
Wow.
And what is happening so you can see from 10% to 95%. And if you talk at the moment, our oil is not even selling. We have our ships, cargoes, and the high seas, nobody wanting to buy our oil. We even have to pay countries to buy our oil. So you are not selling, but you are spending. That is a very dangerous thing. If you look at these indexes of inflation, as we speak, we have an inflation rate of 12.4%, which has been the worst since the past 2 years. We also have our population growing above our resources. We have the population consuming what they are not even producing. Article is talking about indebtedness. We're indebted to so many multilateral organizations, but our total debt is going to almost $135 billion, which is yet not even to talk of servicing our debts. We're talking of $138 billion that Nigeria is indebted to. And the danger is, it's not Buhari who is going to pay this debt. It's not the Minister of Finance and Budgeting who will pay this debt. The debt is being passed on to generations yet unborn. That's our children, our grandchildren. And so where is Nigeria?
Okay,
Nation?
I know you still have more information, but quickly, because time is not on our side, let me give other colleagues a chance. Please, I will have to limit you because of time. We still have to discuss another burning topic, which has to do with Nigerian politics between Obaseki and Oshiomhole. But I know Otumba has gone to do some research. Otumba, what is your take on this economy?
Well, just to continue where Honorable Nat stopped. Again, you know me by now. I'm a man of talking about structure. This time around, I'm willing to stay alive with, 5 minutes, former Vice President. This is just, for me, the message is correct. I'm not an economist, but his analysis it says it all. But at the end of the day, if we have had people like him who are in government for many years, who was also vice president for 8 years, 16 years ago, and so on and so forth, if they have put necessary structure, like Nat said, if we have been producing, if we have reduced the amount of consumption we have to import, that probably will have do us a lot of good. But this is what we have not done. Now let's zoom down to grassroots level, where you have formal and informal sector. Again, the question is, what is our government have been doing to harness, to put them together, to generate, to create a situation where taxes can be taken, and then we can be reused. Because in any governance, you know, there are two hands they have. They create an enabling environment to collect taxes, and then use the other to finance other things. But you don't have any of this. We have no proper structure in place to do proper collection of taxes. The only set of people paying taxes in Nigeria, as far as I'm concerned, are the payee. And then even the payee taxes collected are not being judiciously or prudently used for developing the country. The money comes to the kitty, and then within an hour or two, it's stolen, that's been removed. So really, we need to go back to basics. We need to start talking, and this is my own problem and concern. We need to start talking about the biggest concern we have. How do we access good governance? How do we replace all these people who do not they are doing and just running us into this kind of problem? This is my fear, because we will continue to do this analysis. This analysis we are doing, whether at Oxford or Cambridge level or Harvard, is just not going to do us anything. We will just be
all right. That's the question I want to ask. I know your master's, your MSc is in decision-making analytical policies. So I know that is your area. Is it that our decision-making process is faulty in Nigeria, that we cannot see beyond our nose? Our capital expenditure is lower than our recurrent expenditure. We pay salaries and stationery more than capital projects. And so how do we then develop? Is the fault with the government? Please tell us. Unmute.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that. I think the biggest problem is with every administration that is put in charge to run the country. you must understand, and we all must understand that there is no society without an economy, and there is no economy without a politics. It takes the politics to decide the economic indicators. And as such, if a wrong government pronounces a wrong economic indicator, it impacts on the society as a whole, from both private and public sector policy making in terms of the way they want to run their investments or run their programs. You find that between 2000 and 2014, Nigerian economy was growing at about 7%, and it was growing rapidly because then we had this huge boom that brought a kind of a competitive dimension in the external generation and foreign investment between oil and other sectors, which is the telecom. The telecom boom came into place around this era and expanded the impetus of the economy rapidly between 2000 and 2014. And then also we saw the reactivation of some of the agro-metric areas investment in Nigeria. But suddenly between 2011 and today, insecurity in the north has reduced the competitiveness of agricultural produce in terms of enabling the processing plants that were already part of the initiative of the past administrations to ensure that our produce are turned into finished products within Nigeria, like all the tomato paste, cotton, and textiles. There was a very huge reactivation of reactivating the textile industry, ensuring that most of these things that we produce in Nigeria are reprocessed in Nigeria, the rice booming sector. But suddenly, the inability of managing our insecurity situation, the herdsmen issue, the bandit issue has determinately destroyed the fabrics of the policy plans of agricultural improvement in Nigeria. And you find out that our economic growth in the last 3 years has remained between 2.5 to 2.7%, which is not very encouraging, and it's not investors encouraging. And as such, at the moment, apart from oil, even the oil today, we saw the DGM of NNPC saying that they paid more, they did more expenditure to revenue. They got about 3 something billion naira in generation in the last couple of last quarter of this year, and they have paid a wages or salary of almost 300 something billion and maintenance costs. So you can see how can you run an oil company where you generate 3 something billion and then you are spending about 300 and something billion to pay for wages, salaries, maintenance costs, and export remittance and whatever.
Unbelievable.
It's a ridiculous policy that we need to look into. It's about our economies. It's about our economies.
Let me ask
we need to ask our economists how they are coming up with this policy agenda for federal government, and how is the federal government. You could imagine last 2 weeks we had of somebody in the office of the special advisor to the president on sustainable development goals, who the budget for that sector was 77 billion from the National Assembly. And this young level 12 staff has to take 23 billion and put in a separate account of that money. 23 billion, put it in his account. And then Nigeria is still going to borrow. When somebody can take 23 billion and put in the account, they're generating interest for him, the government money, our own commonwealth, put in his own account. And then
okay. Let me ask Sonny because of time. Sonny, you have been at the center of a Western administration. You have been a councillor for several years in this country, and you've seen how things are run. What do you think we're doing wrongly in Nigeria?
Thank you. I mean, I'm not a specialist in economics. However, I'm going to give my own generic, contribution. Now, you started by saying that Nigeria is borrowing more than its, the income. Now, if you look at that from simple economics, for instance, there's nothing wrong in borrowing, and any economics will tell you that.
According to Atiku, we are servicing.
Qualify what I'm saying.
Because it's different. What you are saying is different. We are servicing with 99% of our income, not borrowing.
Can I carry on.
Yeah, you have the
Okay,
floor.
right. So now, when you borrow for infrastructure, because one of the structural problem we have in Nigeria, we don't have any structure. There's no roads, there are no hospitals, there are no schools. So therefore, if you borrow to invest in those infrastructures, there's nothing wrong. However, you also need to also compare that with where you can generate income to pay for it when the time comes. Now, of course, the article is right to raise that alarm, but as my brother, Gosling rightly said, and you also said, where it was there, they were there in government for how long? So where were the infrastructures when all the debts were accumulating? All of a sudden, they are now blaming this administration here. The administration only been there for 5 years. I don't belong to any Nigerian political party. You can check that. So therefore, I can speak freely. So it's very easy, very rich of any of them to start blaming one administration. They've been there longer, and there are no roads, no hospital. Even the army is not properly equipped. The money ends up in the certain foreign account, and we just been alluded to. Somebody has it 23 billion in their private bank account, the money that belongs to the government. These are the issues Nigerians need to be asking questions. Thank you.
Okay. No, Sonny, I still want you to help me answer it.
Okay, sorry, I thought I'm taking too much of it. Okay, go on.
No. You are at the center of the British government structure, even though at the local government level.
Yes.
What is the British administrative structure is doing that we are not doing in Nigeria? So that we, from your experience here, we want to
Okay.
learn so that we can say,
Okay.
look, Nigeria, don't don't play at the pedestrian level, which we
Okay.
have seen ourselves.
Okay. Number one, I think we've talked about the structure of Nigeria, governance structure. It's extremely important. Accountability is extremely important because if you don't have a structure that fit for purpose, you also have accountability central to it. You
Mm-hmm.
also have checks and balances, all these elements, even simple political student, we tell you these are the simple elements of politics. And if you don't have all this in place, nothing will work.
Mm.
And I keep on saying what I said before in Yoruba. "Amukun ẹrù ẹwọ, òkèlè ń wò ẹ̀wù sàlẹ̀." So you may be looking at all,
Let's not
don't look
translate.
at the structure.
Some of our
So it
listeners are Europeans. They don't understand.
don't worry, we make them understand. It means that when you see somebody carrying a load and he's bent like this, you are just looking at the road that is bent, but you don't look at where the whole problem came from. That is not actually is actually a disabled person, with a very unbalanced legs. So therefore, you may be blaming what we are seeing, in the surface. But the structure of Nigeria, I'm sorry, as it is, you can't build anything on a poor structure. You can. It's like building a house on a sand. It won't stand. And we are just fooling ourselves always. We're not facing the fact. And these are the truth. Until we face the truth, the
Okay.
structure is not fit for
Thank you very
purpose.
much. I'm about to change the topic. Is there any hands raised so that I don't miss you because I'm going to change this topic right now? But if I see a hand raised you've not spoken before, especially if you're a lady, I'm going to give you a chance. I'm going to give you a chance, but I don't want to force it on you. We will definitely, the issue of economy, we will continue. But something is brewing in Nigeria as we speak. The APC party, which is the federal government ruling party, has no chairman. The Federal Court of Appeal has asked that Oshiomhole be suspended, and for that reason, the National Working Committee of APC chose Ajimobi, who is just recuperating from a very serious illness, to be their acting chairman. That will have looked like there is no problem. But then the Deputy National Secretary, Gida, now says he is supposed to be the acting chairman. And besides, once his position is confirmed, he's going to bring back Obaseki, who was disqualified from gubernatorial election come August, and as they declared his not his membership forfeited. APC membership has been withdrawn. So on that note, Nat, what can you tell us more?
Let me start with the breaking news.
Yes, go ahead.
Ajimobi has resumed his office as acting National Secretary of APC.
National Secretary or National
Chairman, sorry. He has resumed his office as National Chairman of APC. The screenings by the APC that disqualified Obaseki has been cancelled.
By Ajimobi?
No, well, by the National Working Committee of the APC. So we don't know what is really going to happen. If this had come 2 or 3 days ago, Obaseki wouldn't have left the APC. But he has not declared for any party, even though we can guess where he's going to. And so there is confusion going on in the APC. Nobody knows what is going on, even members of the National Working Committee. And so if
somebody may say, why are we taking interest in the running of APC? We are taking interest because it's a principal party in Nigeria. That party has produced the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That party is in charge of the majority number of states at the governorship level. And we are not, when we say governor, we're not just looking at one man, we're looking at everybody in that state. And at the moment, the issue centers around Edo State with millions of people. Oshiomhole was the governor of that state for 8 years and handed over to Obaseki, was supposed to be a godson, but something went sour, and here we are with challenges of leadership at the party level, which will spiral into the leadership of the state, and eventually the people will suffer. And this is where we are. And that's why we're taking interest. And it's been dilly-dally, like Nat rightly told us 2 days ago. Obaseki was refused to contest under APC because of his certificate debacles. Right or wrong, we don't know. But we were told he graduated from the University of Ibadan and for reading classics. But we are having a conflicting report of Gideon taking over from Oshiomhole. Oshiomhole, I'm sure he will go to Supreme Court, but we're waiting for that to happen. So with all this dilly-dally, it doesn't all go well. But let me allow my colleagues to add to what Nat have said. Nat, I may have to come back to you in a moment, but let me, Otumba, what do you have there?
My take on this is, again, I'm not like wanting to fit in the same thing. It all boils down to stupid and unworkable structure we have on the ground. And the people, the majority of the people, the electorate, are not being served well because they are the ones that suffer. They have been left behind in such a way that they are not trained. There's no provision for them to be educated as how you see in a civilized climate, where the ordinary man in Dorset or somewhere in Goddess Green knows exactly what is going on. And he follows the rules and regulations of governance here. He knows what he's doing, he knows what is going on. We don't have that in Nigeria. And so we are only left in the hands of these very garage-trained politicians, not many of them, but a couple of them that are just doing whatever they like with us. You see, because the chairman is only here, it's only in Nigeria you hear that the chairman is not in agreement. People working, other members of his party, that he can just take a unilateral decision. In case of Obaseki and Oshiomhole, it is a shame to find out that now they're now talking about Obaseki's education. Somebody who has, almost completed 4 years. 4 years of his governance in Edo State, and it's a shame to find that we just push ourselves here and there without knowing what we are doing. Now, if you look at the future of APC, the way things are. Again, they are not different from the way PDP. They are more or less the same. They are from the same family. These are parties that have no ideology. They don't have idea of what to be done. They don't know what they are doing. They are so retarded. And in the process, they pass this act of retardedness to the ordinary man on the street. The ordinary man on the street is suffering. Now, one Gadom saying he's the one in charge, somebody who is suffering from COVID-19, even if he survived COVID-19 or whatever his sickness is, why should he start talking? He should say, you know what, let me get my health first, let them sort it out. But because, again, like I said, there's no structure in place to resolve all this kind of conflict, all these kind of problems we have in Nigeria. We will continue to wander around like people who are struggling to get to Jerusalem.
Thank you, Otuba. The latest I have is that he has survived COVID-19. He has just come out of coma, and so at that level, that's what has happened to me. He's just come out of coma, but somebody said, yeah, we are all happy to hear that. But we have breaking news here. Gideon is acting chairman, not Ajimobi. Also cancelled a Edo primary screening. That is official. I just got it on my screen right now. That Gideon, so Ajimobi that was touted last night is no longer the acting chairman. Is on authority that Gideon is now the acting chairman, and he has immediately cancelled the Edo primary screening. So there is more drama on the way.
These are clowns. These are clownish. These are really, really clownish. Sorry, Dr. Johnson. Again,
let me hear from
these are clownish.
Let me hear from Azu.
Okay. Please. These are jokers.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Doc. I think we are in to see some dramatic changes. We're going to be seeing some comedy, Kokro Adon. We're going to be seeing what do we call it? Olambelot drama in Nigeria these days. Unfortunately, we have had a situation in the country where our politics is married with both good and bad politicians. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's just about the fact that we have got some of these really bad politicians who think that when they get to power, everything belongs to them. They decide what things happen and how things will happen. And that
I can't hear you.
Unfortunate. I said, are you hearing me now?
Yes, I am.
Are you hearing me now? I said that unfortunately we have a situation in Nigeria where our politics is marred with kind of bad and inhumane individuals who run with party politics as if they are running community associations or they are running some social club, and whereby they determine what happens at the expense of those who contribute to the well-being of that political institution. I believe that this is going to be a very dangerous moment for APC, and also a big lesson for PDP to begin to learn. That when you have people who have a big way of thinking in politics, you end up destroying the political institution by their actions and their reactions. Unfortunately, this is the way APC is going to end very soon. It will be rather very unfortunate if Obaseki decides to go back to APC, because a place where they have put your name in the mud, and they say he that has put his hand in the plague. How did they put it in the Bible? I can't remember again.
Don't worry, you are not a pastor.
So the issue here is that Edo State is a very dynamic example of how politics is going to evolve in the next coming years. I'm sure by next 2 weeks we'll begin to see another new revelations coming out in Ondo State. Ondo is just boiling at the moment. Ondo is going to be in fire, refire. I think the governor went to beg Buhari the other day. Very soon he will go back to go and tell Buhari, I'm resigning too. I'm leaving your party.
We're going to move from one political. We're going to move from one political drama to another.
But Obaseki said something yesterday which I admire so much, and I believe that if he's a sincere human being that knows that with his life in Nigerian politics, things are going to be changing. We have to stop and destroy the image of godfatherism in Nigerian politics. We have to stop and destroy the principles and the institutions of, if it is not my boy, nobody else will be there. If it is not my person, nobody else will be there. Which is what Tinubu has been doing, which is what Tinubu has established in the Southwest family, which is what Obaseki now wants to establish himself in the South. He wants to become the lawmaker. He wants to become the kingmaker. He wants to become the alpha and omega in not only in APC, but even in other parties. Whatever will happen in Edo, whatever will happen in any state in the South, if Oshimole has no say, then nothing will happen. And then the same thing goes to the small man in Kaduna State, El-Rufai. He's also planning his own speech around the areas of the Northeast and Northwest, North Central. We have to stop these individuals informing
Okay, let me ask Sonny. Let me ask
destroying the political institutions.
Sonny, how proud are you of your country, the way they are managing their lives, political lives? Sonny?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I was going to say, to be honest with you, after 60 years of independence, my conclusion is a disgrace, complete disgrace. And I will tell you why. We were talking about the national issue earlier on. You then see a political party that's in government. Of course, the opposition is not different. You see the shambolic way they run their affairs. And yet these are people that are running Nigeria, the country. You remember I said about checks and balances, accountability. Yeah. Remember
that? Exactly, yes.
Now, how can one person have the power to decide the fate of a whole party and a sitting governor? It's ridiculous. What kind of country is that? Now, this is the issue here. I mean, if you look at here, of course, if you look at these countries as well, even though an incumbent may not necessarily be doing well, but they still give him or her the benefit of the doubt. And it's like automatic, they allow him or her to go for the second term. Of course, coming back to the issue of godfatherism, I was actually speaking with some people from Edo State yesterday because I wanted to know, in fact, I didn't even know I was going to contribute on this program. I just wanted to know what is happening in Nigeria, talk to the real people. And they were singing praises of this man, to be honest with you. They were singing they were singing praises of him, and that they wanted back this governor. Yes, they were singing, praises of him. They say it's different for any other political, politician they've seen. He's actually doing his work. He's actually changing ordinary people's life. Now, is that not what politics is all about? And these people who are trying to destroy him, removing need to look at themselves in the mirror. And that's the kind of standard we need. And that also takes me to the funding of political parties in Nigeria. Now, if that's the issue, the real people, conscientious people, are not allowed to come to the fore simply because they cannot afford the application, the campaign. Then we need to look at that. That's part of the structure we need to look at. Because if you want a functional democratic system in Nigeria, we also have to look at the funding of it as well. Otherwise, in 60 years' time, if I'm still around, we'll still be talking about it. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. Commandant Mary, I've not seen your hand up, and I'm about to round up this program. Lady Ya, I know that, I don't know how, I just have to thank you for contributing to the Black Lives Matter. I've not seen your hand up, that's why I've not been calling you. But do you want to say something before we close, Lady Ya? Yeah, unmute, please. Unmute.
To do that. Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, quite frankly, obviously, the issue has largely been focused on Nigeria this morning. However, we do need to look at the wider diaspora, African diaspora, because the whole financial and economical situation has a knock-on effect to not just Nigeria or Libya, as those are the countries that have been mentioned, but also the entire, the entire continent as a whole. And I think until we, as a continent, African continent, sit down and really look at the matter from a political and policy change management perspective, we're going nowhere, quite frankly. I myself am proud of Africa for the progress it has made, although it's far too little given the intelligence and the real power and sustenance that we really do have as a continent. But thank you very much indeed for my for having me on the show. Thank you.
We're very glad to have you. Alex, were you trying to raise up your hand? Oh, is Mary still with us? Because I really want to dedicate this program, if I may, to the dear lady who has just passed on to glory, Ibidunni Ighodalo.
Hello, yeah. This is Alex talking, please.
Okay, quickly, Alex.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to actually contribute. And I'm contributing actually from Greece, and I've been following, and it has been quite a very exciting discussion that we've been having so far. I just want to quickly, let's say, contribute to this political drama that's just happening in Edo State as we speak. My take actually is something I actually sent on the group chat right now, that Obaseki should be very careful, because I still believe like there's a big political trap for him, because I understand Oshomole has a very, very good fight. So I just believe like Obaseki should get his political permutations very correctly. I could see like there's a political trap. I mean, Obaseki, let's say, Oshomole is kind of being suspended at the moment, but he might go back again to the Supreme Court just the same way it played out the other time, and let's say gets judgment and he returns back to the APC. And
and then PDP will have done his primaries.
Window which has been closed for Obaseki to, let's say, get a possible PDP ticket, if that's what he wants to go for, because we could see the move he's already having, the romance he's having now with the PDP governance.
Romance.
and if we lose, he will have to bring the Edo ATM
then
play,
it goes back again to the way we are right now. So I think.
All right. Thank you very much, Alex. Time is just not on our side, and we dedicate this program, this particular episode of You Decide, to Ibidunni Ajayi Ighodalo, who passed on to glory while she was serving our country. And we pray that the family of Ibidunni, especially Itwa Ighodalo, will have strength to continue where she left. And she survived by her husband and 2 children. And of course, her mom is still here with us. And we pray that people of their family will rally around the mom at a time like this. The family has been a very neat one, who believed in God, served God, and yet nobody could explain what really happened. But who are we to ask God? So I will just leave the clip of Ibidunni Ighodalo with you. I want to thank everybody for coming and gracing this episode of You Decide, to our usual regulars and to all our watchers. God bless you. Until next week, my name is Shegun Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
City.